Busch Beer, the beer with a taste as smooth as its name. By Manufacturer Hanover Trust, we realize your potential. By Burger King, this is a Burger King town. We know how burgers should be. By your Team Pontiac Dealers Association of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. They'll excite you. By United Parcel Service. Whether it's for overnight letters or packages, UPS runs the tightest ship in the shipping business. And by Meineke Mufflers. From Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts, WOR-TV presents New York Mets baseball. As tonight, the Mets take on the Boston Red Sox in an exhibition game. Pitching for the Mets tonight, right-hander Rick Auguilera, who's 7-6 with an ERA of 4.07. And on the mound for the Red Sox, it's right-hander Jeff Sellers, 3-6 with an ERA of 4.64.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Kiner, along with Tim McCarver and Steve Zabriskie, all set for the first game between the New York Mets and the Boston Red Sox in a charity affair. And, of course, both these clubs are in first place in their respective divisions, both in the Eastern Division, the Mets in the National League, and, of course, the Red Sox in the American League. And this charity event has raised just about $3.5 million in New York for amateur baseball in New York City. And here in Boston, half of the money of this ball game will go to the Jimmy Fund, a very special charity, cancer research. So it's a big event here in Boston. We'll have a full house here tonight and a lot of baseball to come your way in this special game. Might even be a preview of what's to come in the World Series. Boston and the New York Mets.
Well, the other half of the money, first of all, will go to the Amateur Baseball Society, Association of New York City. And, Ralph, you mentioned the first game, and it may very well be the first meeting between these two clubs. The first and then the best of 4 out of 7 for the World Championship in late October. It's interesting, a lot of blue hats from New York representing Mets fans. And, of course, New England fever for baseball has always been here ever since the 1920s when the owner of the Boston Red Sox, Harry Frazier, sold a pitcher by the name of Babe Ruth to the New York Yankees. So New York and Boston have really been flip-flopping their allegiances for years and years.
And Harry Frazier wanted to use that money to invest in a play on Broadway in New York. Right now, though, let's go down to Steve Zabriskie and his special guest.
Thanks a lot, Ralph, and hi, everybody. Well, with the Red Sox cruising and actually only 4.5 games out in front of Toronto, but playing very well right now, and the Mets almost coasting to the Eastern Division title in the National League, talk naturally has to center on the fact that this game tonight could, in fact, be a preview of the World Series. Well, both managers feel differently. They are approaching this game as exactly what it is, a charity, and basically for charity and secondarily for the fans. As far as Boston manager John McNamara is concerned, everything else is secondary.
Well, it's an exhibition game as far as I look at it. Our work is cut out for us. We still have our division to win, and Steve, that's what we're interested in. This is for a good charity and a good event, and you know, that's the way we're going to look at it. We're going to give our people about 2 at-bats and get them out of there, let the kids play, and then go ahead and try and win the thing. Our division, then, if we do that, we have a league championship to worry about, and if it comes to pass, it will be a dream come true for me.
Then you would really enjoy playing the Mets in the World Series.
Oh, without question, yes. The Mets or anybody else.
Well, there's not a manager in baseball that doesn't feel exactly the same way. They don't care who they play as long as they are, in fact, in the World Series. And that would go especially for Davey Johnson of the Mets. Davey Johnson approaching this game tonight in a very similar fashion.
Well, it's going to be a fun game for us. There hadn't been much grumbling about playing this game, so everybody's kind of excited that it might be a preview to a matchup in the World Series. Everybody's interested in how to play the wall or how to hit it over the wall, whichever. And I'm going to play everybody. My regulars probably just play 3 innings, and we're going to have some fun.
Do you look at it as an opportunity to see the Red Sox close up just in case?
Well, we know them pretty much from spring training, but they're not going to start any of their frontline pitching. So it really won't be a good test, and I'm sure their regulars are going to leave early, too, because they're in a much tighter race than we are. But it's good for us just to get used to the ballpark.
Well, even though people on both ball clubs are trying to play down the aspects of this game over and above its charity significance, the fans obviously feel differently. A sold-out Fenway Park, and I'm sure many, many people watching on television, both through WOR and the Boston station tonight. And we'll be back with the start of this special game from Fenway Park in Boston right after this for Busch Beer.
Charity game between the New York Mets and the Boston Red Sox. The Mets used to play the Mayor's Trophy game, and a little extracurricular activity. Bob Ojeda taking a pie in the face. Of course, Bob played up here in Boston and got a few friends.
Yeah, well, that wasn't from any of the fans, as long-lost fans. It was, that pie in the face was popped in there by Bruce Hurst and Bob Nipper, the right-handed and left-handed pitcher, respectively, for the Red Sox, and good buddies of Bob Ojeda. You got to be a good friend to do that.
And the announcement of the Boston Red Sox players. In 1963, the Mets played the Mayor's Trophy game at Yankee Stadium against the Yankees, and Casey Stengel, the manager of the Mets at that time, played that ball game like the 7th game of the World Series. He wanted to beat the Yankees so badly, he started Carlton Willie on the mound, his best pitcher, which is not done in these exhibition ball games in the regular season. Of course, the Mets were going nowhere in that year, 1963, and the Mets won the ball game in Yankee Stadium. And the Yankees at that time confiscated all the banners that the Mets fans brought in, and they were not allowed to demonstrate their enthusiasm for the New York Mets at Yankee Stadium in those days. They have played many of those Mayor's Trophy games, and they have been well attended. And then now this game, to replace that game, it's the Mets against the Boston Red Sox.
And the Red Sox traveling to Shea next year, and I think the game is sometime in the middle of May. And it will also benefit the Jimmy Fund again and the Amateur Baseball Association of New York City. Headed by Tommy Holmes, who will throw out the first pitch tonight.
And Tommy, a stranger in this ballpark, but no stranger to the Boston area. Tommy, one of the great hitters for the Boston Braves. Led the league in hitting and home runs when playing for the Boston Braves in that Braves Park, which is located west of here, about 4 or 5 miles. The umpires for the game tonight: Dale Ford of the American League behind home plate. Tony Shea will be the umpire at first. Don January, the umpire at second, and John Driscoll, the umpire at third. And they're going over the grounds rules here at Fenway Park. And, of course, this park, a very unusual ballpark. The dimensions are all chopped up. Very short to left field with a high fence. Down the right field line, it's short for a while, then goes deep. Jagged edges all the way around. A very difficult park to play in, as you have to play all those corners that they have there. So, as Davey Johnson pointed out in the interview with Steve Zabriskie, he is happy to have a chance to see this ballpark and let his players play in this ballpark.
Well, fans, this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the New York Mets and WOR-TV and is intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Mets and WOR-TV is prohibited.
So here at Fenway Park, we are waiting for the ceremonial first pitch.
Tommy Holmes, Director of Amateur Baseball Relations for the New York Mets.
Very chilly evening here in Boston. And the ceremonial first ball thrown out by Michael Sink and John Sullivan of the Jimmy Fund Clinic. Jimmy Fund was started years ago, and the big participant in the Jimmy Fund was Ted Williams, a great Boston Red Sox slugger. And that is Tommy Holmes right there with the glove on, embracing the young boy. The Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, the Jimmy Fund, and a big, big charity operation here in Boston.
Established back in 1953, and of course with the help of Ted Williams and Tom Yawkey. I played with this ball club and in this ballpark for a couple of years in part of 74 and 75, Ralph. And I remember Tom Yawkey playing pepper here every afternoon, and I mean every afternoon. As a matter of fact, the day I was released from the Boston Red Sox, June 22nd of 1975, Tom Yawkey had come in. It was a very hot, muggy day, and he came in and he said, if we can recommend you to somebody else, we'd be happy to sign a letter of commendation. I didn't need that. I needed a couple of at-bats. I needed a job. I didn't need any letter. This wasn't college or high school. Get a jacket or something. I think that's what he wanted.
Well, Tom Yawkey, a big sportsman, and of course the owner of the ball club for years, and a great friend of baseball.
Really was. His wife, Jean Yawkey, now the owner, along with Haywood Sullivan.
And she's in attendance here tonight for this ball game, as is Nelson Doubleday and Fred Wilpon of the New York Mets and other high executives. Now our national anthem. And before the ball game, there was a home run hitting contest won by Gary Carter, who hit 5 out of 10 balls out of the ballpark. The pitcher for this ball game, Jeff Sellers, with a record of 3-6, an earned run average of 4.64 in the regular season. He has worked in 11 games, 10 of them as a starting pitcher. He's had 1 complete game. He's worked 66 innings, giving up 72 hits, allowing 10 home runs, walking 34, striking out 40. Jeff Sellers on the mound for the Red Sox.
And the lineup for the Mets, Lynn Dykstra leading it off and playing center field. Second baseman Wally Backman hitting second. Keith Hernandez, the first baseman, batting third. The designated hitter, Gary Carter, batting fourth. As, of course, the Mets will be playing under the designated hitter rule since this is an American League park. Darryl Strawberry in right field, batting fifth. Mookie Wilson, the left fielder, hitting sixth. Howard Johnson at third base, batting seventh. Ed Hearn behind the plate, hitting eighth. And shortstop Kevin Elster, batting ninth.
And defensively for the Red Sox, Buckner at first, Barrett at second, Owen at short, Boggs playing third. Greenwald in left field, Armisen center field, and Evans in right. The catcher is Sullivan, and Jeff Sellers the pitcher. Sellers, the 11th selection in the 8th round of the June 1982 draft by the Boston Red Sox from Paramount High School, Paramount, California, in L.A. So it will be Len Dykstra, the leadoff. Len hitting .298, 7 home runs, 41 RBIs. He is ninth in the National League in hitting. Dykstra leads the club in stolen bases with 28 out of 35. He has 1 more stolen base than Darryl Strawberry. And now Sellers with the first pitch of the game, and it's outside for ball 1. We have a wind blowing out toward left field as these two first-place teams meet for the first time since spring training. A swing and a miss, and the fastball, and the count 1 ball, 1 strike. Mets with 89 wins and 44 losses, a winning percentage of .669, the best in baseball. 1-1 pitch, a fastball high, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. The Red Sox have a record of 79 and 54, a .594 winning percent. And they are in first place by 4.5 games over Toronto. The Mets lead Philadelphia by 20 in a high pop-up and play a ball. Wade Boggs in foul territory, one away.
Wally Backman.
That'll bring up Wally Backman. Wally hitting .326 for the year with no home runs, 25 RBIs. Wally a switch hitter and a much better hitter from the left-hand side of the plate. Backman batting .340 left-handed and .225 as a right-hand batter. And Jeff Sellers with his first pitch. It's looped to left field. Coming on is Greenwald, and he makes the play.
See, so the monster giveth, and the monster is not forgiving to a hitter like Wally Backman either. Normally, that would have been a base hit in a more uniform ballpark, but not in this ballpark, because your left fielder can play you very, very shallow. And that's what Mike Greenwell did. He played him shallow. No sense in playing deep here. Anything deep's a home run or up against the wall. Nobody played that wall better than Yastrzemski either.
He played it in an outstanding fashion, and I have a story to tell about that one, but right now it's Keith Hernandez that gets the attention. Keith hitting .303 for the year with 11 home runs, 68 RBIs, and he takes an account at 1 ball and 1 strike.
Nobody played it better in this ballpark, in the history of this ballpark.
I was in here in 1955 playing a ball game. Maybe it was 1961 when I was broadcasting the White Sox games, and May Minosa hit a ball out to left field. Yastrzemski was a left fielder. He turned like he was going to play it off the wall. Minnie started to run hard. He turned around and caught the ball. Decoyed Minosa right out of his shoes as he pretended like he was going to play that ball off the wall, and then turned back and faced the field and caught the ball.
That was his first year, too, 1961.
That's right.
He had played in Minneapolis, filling the same shoes. Not quite as well, but certainly very well. Ted Williams, if you remember, won the Triple Crown in Indianapolis in 1937. Or was it 38, I suppose? You know, when you think about it, the Red Sox have had only 3 left fielders since 1939.
That is amazing, isn't it?
3.
And the 2-2 pitch, and it's ball 3, so Hernandez, who leads the National League in walks with a count of 3-2. Keith with 79 walks in the year. Second in on-base percentage at .403. Second to Tim Raines, who has a .410 on-base percentage. The full count pitch is hit to center field. Right there, Tony Armas. And the Mets go in order in their first turn at bat. The score at the end of 1/2 inning. The Mets nothing, the Red Sox coming up. Now here's a word from the good old guys. It is 7-6 in the regular season. He has worked 115 innings, given up 115 hits. 12 of them have been home runs. He has walked 32. And he has struck out 87. And Rick going against the New York Mets. Rick, one of the pitchers in the 5-man rotation for the Mets.
And the lineup for the Red Sox, Wade Boggs, the third baseman, and leading the American League in hitting with a .349 average. He'll bat first. Marty Barrett at second base, a very underrated player, batting second. Bill Buckner, a former National Leaguer, batting third and playing first. The designated hitter, Don Baylor. And what a job and what he has meant to this Red Sox team. He's batting fourth. Dwight Evans, very steady in right field, batting fifth. Mike Greenwell, a very young left fielder, hitting sixth. Tony Armas, the center fielder, hitting seventh. Catcher Mark Sullivan, the son of Haywood Sullivan, who is part owner of this ball club, will bat eighth. And Spike Owen, the shortstop, will bat ninth.
And the defense for the Mets, Hernandez at first, Backman at second, Elster playing shortstop, Johnson at third. In left field, Mookie Wilson, Len Dykstra in center field, and Darryl Strawberry in right. The catcher, Ed Hearn.
Wade Boggs.
And the batter, Wade Boggs stepping in. Boggs with an on-base average of .449, leading the major leagues. He has walked 90 times, leading the league in hitting at .349. And Mookie Wilson has just left the ball game, and he has been replaced in left field by Danny Heap. And the first pitch is called strike. Danny Heap in left field in place of Mookie Wilson. And Mookie did not get a chance to bat in the ball game as he leaves it, and Boggs fouls it off to the left side, and it's strike two. Boggs, one of the most unusual men in baseball. He eats only one thing day after day after day, and that is chicken. And that fastball just inside.
Well, he's no chicken with the count 0-2. He was a .390 hitter last year when the pitcher had the count 0-2 on him.
He's had 167 hits this year, and he's had 90 walks.
Had 240 hits last year. 240.
One of the outstanding hitters in baseball, and of course falling in the tradition of the Boston Red Sox, who have had some great hitters up here in this ballpark. A line drive to center field. Dykstra comes in, and he makes the play. Lenny Dykstra taking a base hit away from Wade Boggs.
Boggs hits it awfully hard to center field, and Dykstra with a good jump makes a nice play.
So one away, and Marty Barrett the batter. Barrett hitting at .289 for the year with 3 home runs and 46 runs batted in as Dykstra goes back to his position. Barrett tied for 4th with 35 two-base hits, tied for 4th in the American League. And the first pitch by Auguilera taken for ball 1. The Sox have won 5 in a row and 6 of their last 8 ball games, and that has helped them get some of their lead back that they had squandered away. They are in first place 4.5 games ahead of Toronto.
And they play Toronto 6 more times, and they play the Yankees 7 more times. And of course, I say of course, but for your information, they finish with the New York Yankees here at Fenway. They play the last 10 games at Fenway Park.
Schedule really does favor them. Of course, they get a chance to play Toronto, the team they have to beat 6 more times.
They play Toronto the 19th, 20th, and 21st at Toronto, and then the 26, 7, and 8 games here at Fenway Park.
And that one just out of the strike zone. So the count 3 balls and 1 strike to Marty Barrett. The Mets and the Red Sox meet in spring training as they both train in Florida. The Mets in St. Petersburg and the Red Sox in Winter Haven. And a strike call on the count 3-2 to Marty Barrett, the second baseman. Packed house here at Fenway. And the fastball fouled away. This ballpark built in 1916, but still a great place to watch a ball game. And on opening day in 1916, the fact that this was the first game in the ballpark in 1916, it did not make the front pages of the newspapers. That was the day the Titanic was sunk. 1912 make it. Ground ball to second, and Backman picks up the out. The Titanic was sunk that day, and the Red Sox did not make page 1.
Buckner.
That'll bring up Bill Buckner, former National Leaguer, started his career with the Dodgers, played for the Cubs, and then moved on here to the Red Sox. Buckner hitting .261 with 10 home runs and 83 runs batted in. And the first pitch, a called strike. Buckner tied for second in 2 base hits with 37. Mattingly of the Yankees leads the league with 42. One ball, now 2. 2 balls, and make that 1-1.
Red Sox have 4 of the first 7 hitters, leading hitters in the American League in doubles, the leaders in doubles. The Red Sox have 4 of them.
And this ball hit in the air to right center field. Dykstra is there. And he makes the catch, and the Red Sox, as did the Mets, go in order. And the score at the end of one, the Mets nothing, the Red Sox nothing. Now here's a word from Purolator Courier. Designated hitter Gary Carter, the leadoff. Gary hitting .244 with 19 home runs, 90 runs batted in. Third in the National League in RBIs, in spite of the fact he was out for 2 weeks. Carter with 90. Schmidt, the leader, has 98, and Dave Parker, 97. And the first pitch high for ball one. Jeff Sellers on the mound for the Red Sox. Carter does lead the league in game-winning RBIs with 13. He retained that lead in spite of missing 2 weeks of play. And a high pop-up in foul territory, it goes out of play. 1-1 the count to Gary Carter. On deck batter for the Mets is Darryl Strawberry. Sellers with a record of 3-6. And the fastball to Carter, foul back again. Sellers appeared in the major leagues for the first time last year, where he had a record of 2-0 for Boston. He had made the jump from Double-A baseball, pitching at New Britain, where he had a record of 14-7.
And at New Britain, he gave up only 2 home runs and over 200 innings of work. He was pressed into service earlier this year when Bob Nipper went on the disabled list. Red Sox have had their share of injuries. Bruce Hurst also on the DL for a while.
And the fastball again fouled.
The reason, as a matter of fact, speaking of injuries, the reason Jim Rice isn't playing tonight, he underwent root canal surgery this afternoon. He had 2 of them done. If anybody who's ever had a root canal knows that you don't play baseball or anything else that night.
High pop up to shallow center field, coming in as Armas, and 1 away here in the top of the second.
They had a skit one time on Saturday Night Live, and that skit said that we are all fortunate in that only a maximum of 32 root canals will be done in a lifetime. And that's the truth.
Darryl Strawberry. Winfield.
Boy, they hurt.
Now the batter is Darryl Strawberry. Darryl hitting .258 for the year with 19 home runs, 73 RBIs. Tied with Carter for the club lead in home runs with his 19. And he grounds the ball up the middle for a base hit. So the Mets get the first base runner in this ball game as Strawberry singles.
You ever had a root canal?
Never.
Well, you are lucky. You had that look on your face that you had never had one. And you really did. Well, I've had 2. And I guarantee you they are painful. Not a lot of fun.
I understand Bill Webb goes to dentist offices just to watch root canals.
Yeah, he does. That's his entertainment. Then he goes to barber shops to watch haircuts. Then he gets back to his cartoons on Saturday morning.
Now the batter for the Mets is Danny Heap. Danny replaced Mookie Wilson in the batting order. Mets with a runner at first base and 1 out. Heap hitting .284 for the year. 4 home runs. Make that 5 home runs and 26 RBIs.
Ralph Dennis D'Agostino tells us that Mookie Wilson left because of a tender right hamstring. If this were a normal game, he would be playing, but it's a precautionary move only, so he is all right.
And Strawberry sort of falls back into first base and is safe. Strawberry with 26 stolen bases and 37 attempts. Mets have had 100 stolen bases this year and 144 attempts. Strawberry a good-sized lead. And he is running. The pitch is taken. The throw is offline, and Strawberry has stolen base.
Well, Sullivan really had no chance to get Strawberry, especially with the throw that he had to handle. He did a fine job with what he had. Ball down and into Heap. He actually had to throw the ball over the head of Danny Heap. Strawberry an easy stolen base.
And the count at 2 balls and 1 strike to Danny Heap. Mets with a runner in scoring position, 1 out here in the second, and Danny hits it to left center field. Going back is Greenwald, and he makes the play. Strawberry back to second, 2 men away. That'll bring up Howard Johnson. Johnson hitting .249 for the year with 8 home runs and 31 RBIs.
20. Howard Johnson, third base.
Keep our hearing.
Johnson and Ray Knight taking turns playing third base for the New York Mets, and they have really produced together. Knight hitting .296 for the year with 9 home runs and 64 RBIs. Between the two, Knight with 64 runs batted in and Johnson with 31. They have 95 RBIs at the third base position.
And 17 home runs. Bud Johnson got a lot of those RBIs as a shortstop and some as a pinch hitter. But the majority of them, you're right.
Right.
They got playing third base.
There's one hit out to right field. Evans, a fine defensive player, back to get it. And that'll do it. Mets get the first hit of the game, but leave the first one on. And the score at the end of 1.5. The Mets nothing, the Red Sox nothing. Here's a word from American Express. Time brings you the hottest headlines from the entertainment capital of the world, Hollywood. Join hosts Mary Hart and John Tisch for the premiere of Entertainment Tonight, beginning this Monday night at 7:30. And as we go to the bottom of the second, coming in for the play-by-play, a man who played his baseball here for the Boston Red Sox at one point in his career, Tim McCarver.
1 month in 74 and a few months in 1975. And that was the year, of course, that the Red Sox won the American League pennant and played what may have been the greatest World Series ever. Don Baylor, the batter. Don with 27 home runs, 81 RBIs. Don traded from the New York Yankees because George Steinbrenner said that he could not handle right-handed pitching. Here he is with 27 home runs.
And he leads the league in game-winning RBIs with 13. I should say he's tied for second in game-winning RBIs with 13. Joiner, Wally World, has 14.
Ground ball to shortstop off the left arm of Kevin Elster. Dykstra charging in a hurry, so Elster will be charged with an error. Baylor on at first, nobody out.
Well, this ball takes a little up hop at the last second for a bad hop, but that ball should be handled in the major leagues, and Elster, rated as a very fine defensive ball player, is charged with an error.
In obvious fairness to George Steinbrenner, he did get a fine player in return in Mike Easler, and Mike doing a fine job for the Yankees. And the question being whether Mike gives the leadership to the Yankees that Baylor gives to the Red Sox. Here's Dwight Evans. Dwight with 19 home runs, 82 RBIs, having another fine year. To Dwight Evans, nobody out, no score, bottom of the second.
Evans with an on-base average that is mighty good with 79 walks.
Slider outside, 2-1 to Dwight. Nickname of Dewey. 284 lifetime home runs and closing in on 1,000 RBIs. What a fine career he has had. All as a Boston Red Sox since 1972.
And he uses that Charlie Lau approach to hitting with that left foot off the ground, the heel off the ground, and way back on his back leg. Got that toe right up on the front.
Also, the left foot turned in, too, to keep you turn that left toe in, of course, you do have a tendency to keep that shoulder in more. Baylor probably running, and he is. Swing and a miss. Baylor back to first to throw. Got him. Double play. 2, 4, 3. 2 outs.
Well, the strikeout of the terrible swing, and now Baylor hung up between first and second, and the tag is made by Keith Hernandez. Good job by Backman to get the ball back to first base in time.
Left field. Greenwell.
So the batter, Mike Greenwell. Youngster, and the Red Sox brass is very impressed with this young man's quick hands. 18 home runs at Pawtucket this year. Ball 1. Mike Greenwell.
Batting .304 in the major leagues.
Pop fly left side. Danny Heath, the left fielder, makes the catch. No runs, no hits, 1 error, and none left after 2 here at Fenway Park. Mets' first appearance ever at Fenway. No score. We'll be back after this word from Ford. For the 3rd inning, no score. An exhibition game between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Mets here at Fenway Park. And it is a lovely, lovely ballpark, isn't it, Ralph?
Has the romance of the old ballparks. And, of course, not many of them left.
Certainly think of Wrigley Field in Chicago. The oldest park in baseball, however, in Chicago, but not Wrigley Field. It's Comiskey Park on the south side of Chicago, where that bad Leroy Brown runs around.
Yeah, you stay away from him.
Yeah. Slider backs up inside to Eddie. Eddie batting .272, 4 home runs. Did a truly remarkable job when Carter was out for 16 days.
Had a home run his last at bat as a catcher for the Mets when Carter was due to come off the disabled list. One of the things about these old ballparks, of course, they have a different configuration. And you can get ball players tailored for the park itself, which they did for many years here in Fenway, picking up right-hand batters, take advantage of that left field wall. People like Jimmy Fox, also people like Vern Stevens, a shortstop who hit a ton of home runs and hit over 140 RBIs.
Does that mean you get ball players with funny-looking configurations as bodies?
They have bodies the same. Corners sticking out here and there.
Short left field porches?
Porches.
Well, the Red Sox have had certainly as many batting champions as any team in the history of the game, especially since 1920. Marty Barrett should make this play. And he makes the catch. So with Kevin Elster coming up. We were talking before the game and talking to our director, Bill Webb, about that left field bleachers section where the first fire here at Fenway occurred, right in that area. It occurred May 8th, 1926. And the bleachers along the left field foul line burned down and were not replaced. The second fire in this ballpark occurred 8 years later on the 5th of January, 1934. Strike 1. It was a 4-alarm, 5-hour fire that virtually destroyed the construction underway to refurbish the park by the new owner, Tom Yawkey. And the new Fenway Park opened in 1934, and we're in it 52 years later. 1-1. Make that 0-2 to Elster.
And one of the things you always think about when you come here is the fact that Babe Ruth played here and was a great pitcher for the Boston Red Sox. In fact, he was voted as the top left-handed pitcher ever to pitch for Boston. The right-handed pitcher was Cy Young, the fellow the award was named for, the Cy Young Award. And he was voted the top right-handed pitcher for the Boston Red Sox.
And until recently, I believe, until the last 6 or 7 years, Babe Ruth held the record for the most consecutive scoreless innings, I believe, in World Series
play, right.
Kevin Elster drives Armas deep. 2 out in the top of the order with Lynn Dykstra, the batter.
And then you go on to players like Ted Williams, who hit his last home run in this ballpark off of Jack Fisher. Met pitcher later on.
John Updike wrote that he went around the bases like a feather caught in a vortex. And he never returned to tip his cap to the crowd.
Ted had a love-hate relationship here in Boston. He loved the city, loved playing here, did so much for charity, but he hated the way the sports writers treated him, the majority of the sports writers. He felt they were unfair in his criticism, in their criticism. And there was a writer up here especially got on him, a fellow called the Colonel. His name was Egan, who really took Ted Williams apart all the time. Another writer up here that was nicknamed the White Rat used to give him a bad time.
That wasn't Cliff Keene, was it?
No, Cliff Keene, a great writer, covered a lot of tennis, was a fine writer here and did not get on Ted to any degree.
I saw Cliff before the ball game in the Mets clubhouse, as a matter of fact. Cliff is now retired. 2-2 to Len Dykstra. No score. Top of the third. Jeff Sellers against Rick Auguilera.
And for years, they had 2 teams in Boston.
Still 2-2.
The Boston Braves played not too far from this ballpark, National League Ball Club, and they moved, of course, to Milwaukee and then later on to Atlanta. That move was made, I believe, in 1953. Warren Spahn pitching for the Boston Braves in those early days.
Fly ball to left field, and every pitcher worries whenever that ball goes up in that direction. But Mike Greenwell hauls it in. The Mets retired in order here in the third after 2.5, no score. We'll be back after this word from UPS.
Certainly be a September to remember at Shea, and thanks to 9X Yellow Pages, Sony Tape, and Roll Aids, every fan attending the Mets games on September 8th, 9th, and 10th against Montreal, the 17th and 18th against Chicago, the 19th against Philadelphia, and the 22nd and 23rd against the St. Louis Cardinals will receive a limited edition Pennant Fever Pennant featuring the 1986 Mets. Tickets for these games and all remaining regular season home games are available at all Ticketron outlets, at Shea Stadium's advanced ticket window, or call 718-507-TIXX for more information. So catch Pennant Fever at Shea in September and come on out to cheer the Mets on to the championship.
And fans, you can be a part of a September to remember as the Mets continue their homestand against the San Diego Padres tomorrow night at 7:35. Saturday, September 6th at 2:20, that's Snapper Adult Umbrella Day. And Sunday, September 7th at 1:35. After the Padres, the Mets conclude their homestand against the Montreal Expos Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights. September 8th, 9th, and 10th, all games starting at 7:35, and all 3 games are Pennant Fever Pennant nights. Due to the heavy demand of Snapper Adult Umbrella Day, tickets for this Saturday are available at Shea Stadium's advanced ticket window only. For all other games, you can call 718-507-TIXX, or you can go to all the Ticketron outlets or Shea Stadium's advanced ticket window. Tony Armas, the batter. Tony with 11 home runs. His home runs down considerably from years past. Grounds this one up the middle, base hit. First hit of the ball game for the Red Sox.
15. Mark Sullivan. The catcher, Sullivan.
Well, both hits in this ball game have been right up the middle. This one just under the glove of the diving Kevin Elster. And the leadoff batter's on for the Red Sox here in the bottom half of the third.
And the catcher, Mark Sullivan, will be the batter. Armas not a threat to run. None of the Red Sox outside Barrett are a threat to run. They have stolen only 34 bases all year. They've been caught stealing 29 times. And I know you love it because the Cardinals are leading the major leagues in stolen bases, and the Red Sox are last, and the Red Sox are 4.5 in front.
The losing case of the stolen base.
You're salivating over there. Hernandez to Backman. Sacrifice successful as Armas goes to second base.
Well, right here, an unusual play in an exhibition game, a sacrifice. An exhibition game, you want to see everybody hit away and have a good time, but now the sacrifice is put on. And, of course, the sacrifice in this ballpark is not really a play that they use too often because of the fact there are so many extra base hits in this park.
I could not agree with you more on all counts. Here's Spike Owen. Spike acquired from the Seattle Mariners about a month ago with Dave Henderson, the outfielder, for Ray Quinones, the shortstop. Spike, of course, a shortstop that played with Roger Clemens and Calvin Schiraldi at the University of Texas. Oh, and 2. All 3 players, along with many, many more, coached by Cliff Gustafson, fondly named Gus.
And he said his greatest pitcher was Bert Hooten. He did not name Clemens as his greatest pitcher. Of course, Hooten was an outstanding pitcher. And is. Outstanding major league pitcher. Yeah. On the DL now at the Texas Rangers, however. Fastball is high. 1-2 to Spike Owen. I believe he's on the DL with Texas. Spike stays alive. Oh, it's 1-2. No, Tim, we were talking about the Boston Braves playing here, moving to Milwaukee in 53. There were a lot of rumors about Boston moving in 52. Warren Spahn went to the owner, Perini, who owned the ball club, and asked him if they were going to move. He says, absolutely not. We're not going to move this ball club. So Warren Spahn bought a diner right next to the ballpark that the Braves played in. They moved. He's still trying to sell that diner.
Yeah, but everything Spahny touched turned to gold.
Well, he just got some land to put some cattle on, and under that land was that black stuff.
Black gold. Owen batting .270 on the year. Spike Owen. And Auguilera strikes him out to record his first strikeout.
26.
Well, Owen takes this pitch right on the inside corner, puts his bat down, walks away. No doubt about it as he is struck out. 2 men away, a runner at second, and back to the top of the order, and a tough hitter coming up.
Now, Steve Zabriskie points out that's his second strikeout, and I suppose it is.
That's right. They had a strikeout double play, yeah.
Wade Boggs, the batter. He lined to center his first time up, and he takes the ball outside. Wade led the Red Sox hitting with runners in scoring position last year. He batted .397 with runners in scoring position. For all of those critics who says he doesn't hit enough home runs.
He's got 8 home runs this year, but When you got a hitter that gets on base like this man does, you don't worry too much about whether he hits home runs or not. He can get on base.
Plus, he drives in runs.
Mm-hmm.
He leads off a lot. He had 78 RBIs last year and 62 this year. Here's a guy whose lifetime average, even though he's played about 5 or 6 years less, is 50 points higher than Keith Hernandez. Sit on that one for a while. He is something.
You know, the stat on Boggs that is mind-boggling, and I just can't believe it.
Mind-boggling?
Is the fact that he did not pop up to the infield, has not popped up to the third baseman or the infield on that side once.
Did it twice in fair territory last year. Fastball misses inside. So it's 3-2 to Wade Boggs. Boggs will foul you off all day long. Talking to Joe Morgan. I played with Joe in the minor leagues. He's now a coach with the Red Sox. And he asked Boggs one time, he said, Wade, how come when the shortstop plays you toward third, you hit the ball up the middle, and when the shortstop plays you up the middle, you hit the ball in the hole? He said, I try to do it.
That is bat control.
Joe said, well, what are you going to do? Lines it hard, past Elster at short. Armas is going to score. 1-0 Red Sox.
Well, Boggs has made solid contact twice. Lined out to center his first time up, and this ball he hits hard at short. Elster had trouble, I believe, seeing the ball as the runner might have blocked his view, but he couldn't handle the play. Dykstra gets it back in, a run scores, and the Red Sox lead 1-0.
It's being scored a hit, and it well should be because of this. That ball ate Elster alive down there. So Boggs at first, driving in the only run of the ball game. Marty Barrett, the batter. He grounded to second his first time up, and he fouls it back, 0-1. Tim McCarver, along with Ralph Kiner and Steve Zabriskie, bringing you the first exhibition game ever here at Fenway Park between the Mets and the Red Sox. Both teams obviously hoping to meet each other here in the World Series come October. 1-1.
Well, the general manager of the Boston Red Sox worked for the Mets, Lou Gorman, before taking the job up here. And it was he that engineered, along with Frank Cashin of the Mets, the deal that brought Bob Ojeda to the New York Mets. Ojeda with a record of 16-4 for the Mets this year.
Curveball is high, so it's 3-1 now to Marty Barrett. Of course, Lachelle Tarver was just recalled by the Red Sox. Calvin Schiraldi in that Ojeda trade doing a marvelous job in the bullpen now. 3-2 to Marty Barrett. So Boggs will be off. And he grounds it foul. So it's 3-2. Boggs retreats to first.
Schiraldi with a record of 2-1, and he has 7 saves, an earned run average of 1.29, and 35 innings of work.
Well, John McNamara admits that he does not know where the Red Sox would be without Calvin Schiraldi. He's gotten those 7 saves in a very, very quick time. So Auguilera loses Marty Barrett, and the batter is Bill Buckner.
Bill Buckner. First base, Buckner.
The only game that Schiraldi has lost was that 4-2 Texas win down in Texas, in Arlington, Texas, a couple of weeks ago when Ruben Sierra hit the 2-run homer in the bottom of the 9th inning with 2 out and 1 on. Texas won that game 4-2.
Incidentally, Tom Seaver with the Red Sox. And if you're wondering how Tom is doing, he is 5-5 with the Red Sox. Overall, he has a record of 7-11 this year.
And another good deal by the Red Sox. They got Tom from the White Sox for Steve Lyons, and Steve Lyons was sent out by the White Sox right after they got him. I think he has since been recalled. 0-1 to Buckner. 2 on, 2 out. 1-0 Boston. Ground ball, base hit, right field. Boggs is going to score, and it's 2-0 Red Sox.
Well, this ball finds the hole between first and second. Out in the right field, Strawberry comes up throwing. Throws the ball through the catcher, Ed Hearn. A good job of backing it up by Auguilera. As Boggs comes in to score, Barrett ends up at third, and runners now at first and third as Buckner comes up with a base hit to make it 2-0.
Buckner.
The slider is inside. Running for Buckner is Dotson, the infielder. Pat Dotson. A little play on words. No relation to Dobson, the Dobber, a pitcher for a long time in the major leagues. D-O-D as in dog, S-O-N, Dotson, Pat Dotson running for Bill Buckner. 3-0 to Bob Baylor, or Don Baylor, pardon me. Bob Baylor probably watching this game tonight from Connellsville, Pennsylvania, right before deer hunting season. Bob released from the Dodgers earlier this year, and a fastball for a strike, 3-1. Field. Danny Heap in a couple of steps, and he makes the catch. But the Red Sox take the lead. 2 runs on 3 hits, and they strand a couple. After 3, it's 2-0 Boston, and we'll be back after this word from Busch Beer. The 4th inning, and what is a convenient trip for Steve Zabriskie. Here he is with the play-by-play.
Thanks, Timmy. Wally Backman leads it off. Wally lined to left field his first time up. And Walter playing tonight on 2 hours sleep last night.
Oh, yeah.
Not by his own choice either. Outside.
Tried to break into his car, right?
Yeah, he got to bed about 2:30 after the late game last night, after he went home and relaxed watching an hour or so of television. And at 4:30, Wally was awakened by somebody trying to break in and steal the radio out of his car. By the time the police came, and incidentally, they did not get the radio, 3-0. By the time the police came and all was said and done, it was time for him to take his car over and put it into Len Dykstra's garage while he made the trip, not wanting to leave it out while he was gone, since apparently there was some damage done to the window. And Wally walks on 4 pitches. And after all that was done, Wally had to come to the ballpark, so he only got 2 hours sleep. Well, Laura, I Want to Marry You, signed Jimmy, is from Engine Company number 287, ladder 137 of Elmhurst, Queens. I guess Jimmy's a fireman there.
Either Jimmy or Laura.
That must be Jimmy right there, waving.
Or they're female.
Yes, that's true.
Fire people.
Firefighters.
Persons. I get so confused with all that stuff.
Lee Mazzilli batting for Keith Hernandez. Here in the 4th inning, Hernandez getting 1 at bat. And Maz, who was in the home run hitting contest prior to the game, takes high and outside. Maz played in this park when he was a member of the Texas Rangers 2 years ago. Backman back in time. Dodson at first base after running for Bill Buckner. May stay in play. Boggs over there, but he doesn't have a play. So the count, 1 ball, 1 strike. Quite a few Mets fans have made the trip, and there have already been a few altercations in the stands.
Yeah, but they don't count.
It's only an exhibition.
It's not part of the. It's not part of the regular season.
Exhibition altercations.
That's right. You can't get bruised. You can't get anything. Pound away.
Another throw to first. Well, what you were referring to in my convenient trip is that I'm not going back with the ball club because the college football season opens, for me at least, on Saturday here at Boston College. Foul ball, and just barely outside the first base bag. So Backman, who was running back to first, and Mazzilli back to the plate. And it's 1-2.
Going to do a little BC action, huh? On Saturday, this ball barely foul. Amateur umpire Tim Cheetah. I guess that's how you pronounce it. T-S-C-H-I-D-A.
Unless the T is silent.
Cheetah. Or Sheeta.
Or Shada. I don't know.
What's an I? Who's BC play on Saturday?
Rutgers.
All right. Rutgers.
We'll be doing a few BC games, a few Syracuse games, a few Pitt games.
Be working with that Jack Ham, huh?
Former Steeler All-Pro. Boy, he was one of the greatest, if not arguably the best outside linebacker in the NFL in many
years. A guy who had a nose for the ball. Boy. He was always around the ball.
He was great. Mazzilli hits it well and foul. Boy, when you get down near that foul pole, there is no foul territory, as that railing along the seats is almost to the foul line. But right at that foul pole, that is what you call a short porch. If you can hook it around that baby, you can get a short home run.
Yeah, but from that point on, it goes straight back to the position, and in the position, it's 380 to right field.
No cheap ones there.
Nope.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Lee Mazzilli, batting for Keith Hernandez here in the 4th inning. Hernandez lined out to center in his only at bat. And Jeff Sellers gets a different baseball from Dale Ford. Backman at first with nobody out. He led off the inning with a walk. In the top of the 4th of this exhibition affair, Boston leads 2-0. And Gary Carter waits on deck. Sharply hit and right through the legs of Dodson at first. Backman will go to third. Evans up with the ball. Mazzilli goes to second. And the runners hold there. With nobody out, the Mets have 2 runners in scoring position.
Right through the legs of Pat Dodson. Played nicely by Evans. Dwight Evans with 5 straight Gold Gloves. Or you talk about a nose for the ball, a Jack Ham. There's a guy who has a nose for the ball. Dwight Evans in right field.
But for Pat Dodson, it's a 2-base error. Second error of the game. Each team with 1, as Kevin Elster of the Mets made 1 at shortstop. And here's Gary Carter, who flied to shallow center his first time up.
Carter, the hitter.
Gary put a few over the Green Monster in the pregame home run hitting contest. Strike 1. Carter won the event by hitting 5 out in 10 swings. Foul straight back.
I'll tell you one thing, Steve. You never really know what's going to happen, but if the Mets and the Red Sox did meet in the World Series, boy, this place would be bananas. They'd be hanging from the rafters in this city.
Well, here it is, an exhibition game, and not only is the game sold out, the Red Sox are televising it here locally, and there was enough media here to think it was a World Series.
Unbelievable.
Guys from all over the country.
I mean, it was like a playoff game or something. There's so many media here in a non-media event. But this is an exhibition game, and I've never seen an exhibition game quite like this one. I mean, there is genuine excitement here.
That's right. 1-2 to Carter.
Kind of fun, isn't it?
It is. And I'll tell you, this town, in spite of the fact, as you look at Backman, the runner at third, and Mazzilli at second, in spite of the fact that the newspapers here and the media in general really is very hard on the Red Sox, the fans here are unbelievably loyal. Carter hits it well to center field. But a nice sliding catch by Armas, but his throw is too high to double up Mazzilli. Backman, however, tags and scores, and it's now 2-1 Boston. And Carter will get a sacrifice line drive for the RBI.
Really a fine play by Armas, and because he made such a good play, he can't really get in a good throwing position to get Mazzilli, who had wandered off too far from second base. Backman scores easily. Sacrifice fly by Gary Carter. So Gary now with 1 RBI in the exhibition play since the season started.
Which will not count, of course, in his National League total. I love it. What a stat. On Thursday.
Statman strikes again. Statman Crothers.
That's in exhibition games on Thursday, of course. Darryl Strawberry, the batter. Strawberry has the only hit that the Mets have managed off Jeff Sellers. They have scored a run here in the 4th. New York has, without the benefit of a base hit, as Backman walked, and then Mazzilli reaching on a 2-base error, and the line drive for the sacrifice to center by Carter to plate Wally Backman. Time called as a beach ball has come out of the stands in left field. Greenwell will retrieve. And it's short. Almost came back again. 1 ball that counted Darryl. Darryl singled to center and stole second, but was stranded there in the second inning.
You think about Strawberry playing in this ballpark with his power to left field.
He could really
hit
a lot of home runs. Now this time, the ball came out again, the beach ball, so Greenwell says, I've had enough of this. He spiked it.
And look at the little door that the gentleman going in, and those numbers are put in there manually in the scoreboard.
Yep, just the person who's at bat and the ball strike and out lights are automated. The line score and totals are all done manually, as are all the out-of-town scores, just like Wrigley Field in Chicago. Sellers with a bluff.
Ralph says that door out there in the scoreboard is where Ted Williams used to duck in. There you see the door right there where the attendant just ducked in. If Williams wasn't going to hit in the inning, he'd just go in there and sit.
Strawberry with another one up the middle. Owen gets him at first base. Good play by Spike Owen, and on the play, Mazzilli moves over to third, now with 2 out.
Spike Owen, a legitimate shortstop. He is a fine shortstop. Red Sox had a chance to get him, and they went out and got him.
So a runner at third with 2 out for Danny Heap, who flied to left his first time up. Mookie Wilson had started the game in left field, but Wilson left the game before batting. In fact, really just in the top half of the first inning, actually in the bottom half of the first inning when the Mets took the field. So he went in right away and flying to left his first time up. 1-1 to Danny. And another fly ball to left. This one deeper, but Greenwell back on the track, makes the catch, and the inning is over. The Mets get a run without the benefit of a hit. And in the middle of the fourth, it's 2-1 Boston here at Fenway. We're back after this word from WNEW-FM.
Watch this. WNEW-FM, home run rock and roll. Like it ought to
be. Lee Mazzilli remaining in the game for Keith Hernandez, for whom he hit at first base, and Kevin Mitchell into the game for Len Dykstra in center field for New York.
And tomorrow, the start of something special when the Padres come into town. The Goose Gossage-less Padres, starting a 3-game series with the Mets. You can join us for all the action live from Shea Stadium tomorrow night at 7:30 right here on WOR.
Bottom of the fourth inning, 2-1 Boston, and Dwight Dewey Evans will lead it off for the Red Sox against Rick Auguilera. Evans struck out, and it turned out to be the front end of a double play as Don Baylor was at first and was running on the play and was thrown out. Evans takes inside, ball 1. Mike Greenwell and Tony Armas are scheduled to follow here in the fourth inning. 1-1. Evans has a batting cage in the basement of his home and spends most of the hours of the off-season swinging the bat. 2-1.
Because he gets to deduct that and having his office in his home, right?
That's right.
Nothing wrong with that. He does work very, very hard and has had a remarkable career.
Check swing foul, and the count 2-2. On top of his prowess with the bat this year, 19 homers and 82 RBIs so far, he has got to be, if not the best, certainly in the top 3 as far as defensive right fielders in the American League are concerned.
And he's been that for the last 11 years.
Right. Three and 2 now. Rick Auguilera has given up 2 runs on 3 hits. He has struck out 2 and walked 1 through the first 3 innings. Fouled away, and it's still 3 and 2. of the first 4 innings, the Red Sox have had their leadoff batter on.
Mike Greenwell.
As Evans walks here to open the 4th. John McNamara looking on as Mike Greenwell, who flying to left his first time up, stands in. Greenwell hitting .304 in the American League this season, but it hasn't been up very long. Popped up, but it's out of play behind home plate. Strike 1. And if you weren't with us earlier, Greenwell in left instead of Jim Rice to start, as Rice underwent a couple of root canal jobs today.
You ever had a root canal?
I've had 13
Holy
root canals.
cow, you're
pal.
a sick man. You need help. 13 root canals? What do you eat?
Well, I had them all in one winter, as a matter of
Were you
fact.
chewing on sugar cane as a kid? That's sick.
No, I just had
What?
some.
You had 13 in one winter? That's
Yeah.
the sickest thing I've ever heard of.
You think it's sick? You ought to go through it.
Oh, I can't believe you did that.
Yeah.
13 in one winter?
Yes.
You got to be kidding
13.
me. I can't believe that.
It was an experience only Bill Webb could appreciate.
Oh, he loves it.
He's into pain. But as Bill would say, there's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, I had some bad dental work done when I was young.
Wow.
And after I didn't go to the dentist for a while, it came back to haunt me, so they talked me into having it all done at once.
Oh. I had 2, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Me either. Lazy fly to right. Strawberry coming in. Makes the catch. 1 away. Evans back to first. I don't even want to talk about it anymore, as a matter of fact.
Boy, that is...
Tony Armas.
Tony Armas with a single and a run scored in his only at bat. Led off the 3rd inning with a base hit to center. And scored on a single by Wade Boggs, who later scored himself. Another fly to right. Again, Strawberry having to come hard, and he won't get there. Evans played it very well, as he had a good view of the play, and he was almost 2/3 of the way to second before he stopped, so he makes it to second easily. And with 1 out, runners at first and second for Boston.
Yeah, of course, you got to hit that ball a ton to drive it to right field because of that wind that has subsided somewhat. But the ball dropping in front of Darryl Strawberry. And Armas now, pinch runner for...
Dave Henderson.
And it's going to be
running.
Dave Henderson running for Tony Armas.
And the batter, Mark Sullivan. Sullivan sacrificed successfully his first time up. And somewhat of a surprise. Look out, partner. You all right, Ralph? That one got Ralph Kiner in the knee.
You all right, Pudsey? Ralph diligently studying that rule book, going over the American League rule book.
And paid a dear price for it. Right on the knee, or kneecap.
This press box, of course, right on top of the field. The only press box or broadcasting booth any closer is Detroit.
Detroit, you can expect a half a dozen foul balls during a game. And where we are here, as you can see, is...
There's our pal Ralph Kiner. We're going to have to start bringing shin guards up in the booth.
Swing and a miss as Sullivan goes down. 3rd strikeout for Rick Auguilera, and 2 out here in the 4th inning. But where we are is not only right behind home plate and down low as compared to many other ballparks, but of course there's no glass, plexiglass, plastic or otherwise in front, so balls can fire right on in here.
Hey, look at that, a fin wave.
Doing the fin wave as Spike Owen stands in. Very good. You punster, you. Owen struck out looking his first time up, and he takes the ball. Owen made a fine play in the top half of the fourth inning on a ball hit up the middle by Darryl Strawberry to throw out Darryl at first base. Line drive to left field. Danny Heap over. Here comes Evans. Here comes the throw, and Evans scores. 3-1 Boston. On the play, Henderson stops at second.
Well, Spike Owen, you saw that head down, and he bounds one to Danny Heap, and Evans scores. If the ball is hit sharply to the left fielder with a runner on second, there's usually a play at home, because the left fielder is not positioned very far away anyway.
But Evans beat the play easily. And Wade Boggs will be the batter with runners at first and second. And 2 out here in the fourth. Ball 1. Boggs 1 for 2. He lined to center. Len Dykstra made a fine play to take a base hit away. And then he singled to left center to drive in a run in the third, and later scored on an RBI by Bill Buckner. Fouled out of play, and it's 0-2. Or I think it's 1-1. The scoreboard says 0-2, but it's...
They put that up automatically when Boggs comes up.
He's better with 2 strikes.
Better with 2 strikes. Yeah, they just throw that up there regardless of the count.
They want Wade to think it's 2.
Yeah,
2 strikes.
Right.
But it is really 1-1.
Look how he kind of circles that bat, though, before the swing. That is really interesting and something I've really never noticed about Boggs before.
A little bit like Lee May, but not as exaggerated.
A little bit,
Bouncer to second. Backman flipping to Elster, and the inning is over. However, the Red Sox pick up another run on 2 hits. They leave a pair. But at the end of 4, Boston leads New York 3-1. And we're back after this for Manufacturers Hanover Trust.
For the latest news, weather, and sports, catch the award-winning Channel 9 news team for a special late edition News 9 primetime immediately following tonight's exhibition game.
Dave Henderson stays in the game after pinch running for Tony Armas, and will play center field. And Howard Johnson will lead it off for the Mets here in the top of the 5th inning. Boston leading 3-1 as the Mets have managed only 1 hit off Jeff Sellers. Johnson lined out to right his first time up, and he takes the ball. Boston with 2 runs in the 3rd inning and 1 in the 4th. The Mets scoring their only run without the benefit of a base hit in the 4th inning. Two and 0. Now. In case you weren't with us at the beginning of the telecast, Ralph and Tim were talking about where the money from this game goes. Tim Lawler warming up for Boston. He will be the next pitcher. And it's low, ball 4. So Johnson aboard to open the 5th inning. Second walk issued by Jeff Sellers. But the Red Sox half of the net proceeds will go to the Jimmy Fund, which is a cancer fund here in Boston, and they have done a great deal for that fund over the years. Ed Hearn, the next hitter. And the Mets half of the proceeds, as happened with the Mayor's Trophy game, which of course was suspended, will go to amateur baseball in New York. And we'll give you some of the names of guys who have benefited from that and made it to the big leagues over the years. Guys like Joe Foy, Ron Swoboda, Tony Conigliaro, Terry Crowley, Jim Spencer, Fran Healy, Freddie Patek, Skip Lockwood, Mike Jorgensen. Popped up on the right side, Marty Barrett calling, and he lets it drop, but he touched it. The umpire, Johnson wasn't even on the base.
It's an amateur umpire, and he said he couldn't do that, but you can do that.
You can do that.
Oh, yeah, you can't catch the ball and then let it drop.
I thought the umpire signaled that he touched the ball, and that's why he wasn't allowing it.
No.
And Barrett's saying, I did not touch the ball. And if he didn't touch the ball, he can throw it and get a double play.
That's right. See, Barrett allows that ball to drop intentionally. Now he picks it up. Hearn is on second base, but the umpire calls him out. But that's not the right call because you can't allow that ball to drop. Runners advance, of course, at their own risk.
Well, I guess that's an incorrect infield fly rule.
Yeah. Non-existent infield fly rule.
Johnson running on the play, and he's in there with a stolen base. The ball gets away, but not far enough for Hojo to advance to third as Kevin Elster took strike one. And Johnson picks up a stolen base, the Mets' second.
Howard diving in there, and the ball hitting him on the waist. Pretty good throw by Sullivan, but a little bit too much windage toward first. A little left windage on that one.
Got to allow for the wind.
Yeah.
He allowed too much for the wind as it is blowing from the right field corner to the left field corner. Elster fly deep to center his first time up. And he hits another one to center. This one is not deep, however. Johnson tagging, but only bluffing, as Henderson's throw is on the money to the cutoff man. 2 away. And the batter will be Kevin Mitchell. Some more guys who have benefited from the money that goes to amateur baseball in New York are John Candelaria, who played for the Brooklyn CYO team. Lee Mazzilli was on the New York Federation team. Tom Verizor played for Long Island Connie Mack baseball.
Kevin Mitchell.
Dennis Leonard pitched for Queens Nassau.
How about that?
So a lot of big league players have come through.
That's great.
New York amateur baseball and benefited from this game, and that's another reason why it's a good thing that in some way at least this game was reinstated to provide funds.
No question.
Kevin Mitchell batting for the first time after replacing Dykstra in center field. Mitch hitting .287 with 11 homers and 35 RBIs. And he pops the first pitch up. It's Barrett again. He won't let this one drop, however, and the inning is over. A walk and one left here in the fifth for New York. After 4.5, Boston leads the Mets in this exhibition from Fenway 3-1. Weeknights, it's gorgeous girls, lush locations, and Tom Selleck. Oh boy, now you can catch Hawaii's Top Gun 5 nights a week when Channel 9 presents Magnum Monday, September 15th at 6 p.m. Bottom of the fifth, 3-1 Boston. And as we go to the bottom of the fifth, we go back to Tim McCarver.
And a little magnum force used by both these ball clubs in charging to their division leads. The Red Sox leading the American League East by 4.5, and the Mets 20 over the Phillies. Mazzilli on a nice play. First pitch by Marty Barrett, fouled out to Lee Mazzilli on a fine running catch.
Not an easy play, especially in this ballpark where that foul territory diminishes quickly down the lines.
27.
Pat Dotson, the batter.
And Johnson. First base. Johnson.
And a swing and a miss. Dotson in there as a pinch runner for Bill Buckner earlier in the ball game.
This must be his first big league at bat, or at least his first at bat of this season. Of course, it doesn't count as his first big league at bat, being an exhibition game.
Fouled out of play, 1-2. Dotson batted .223 with 18 home runs last year at Pawtucket. Signed back in 1980 with the Red Sox, a 6th round pick. He attended UCLA for 3 years. Big and strong. He is 6'4", 215. Pat Dotson. 1-2 to Pat. 1 out. We're in the bottom of the 5th. 3-1 Boston over the Mets. Exhibition baseball. The Mets arrived today about 3:30. And everybody from the front office, for the most part, came up.
That's right.
Shea Stadium is a ghost office now. A ghost office. I like that.
Well, if you can have a ghost town, you can have a ghost office. Well, Dodson called out on a breaking ball right over the outside corner of the plates from Auguilera, his 4th strikeout.
There's John Mitchell, who was once a Red Sox.
Not a pair, just one.
He came over in the Ojeda trade, as a matter of fact, along with a couple of other pitchers for Lachelle Tarver. He's warming up and will...
Looks like Doug Sisk wants membership in our fraternity, Kappa Skew.
Kappa Skew.
Jack. Hitting for John Baylor.
They got nothing else to do. They'll fling sunflower seeds at each other.
That's Dave Sachs, the brother of Steve Sachs with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Dave, a catcher, and he fouls one off. He's batting for Don Baylor, the designated hitter. So Dave Sachs from Sacramento, California, the batter.
Sachs also just called up, so he has had no at-bats in the American League this year.
Dave, the older brother of Steve. Dave, 28 years old. Fastball is high, 1-1 to Dave Sachs with 2 out, nobody on. Tim McCarver, along with Steve Zabriskie and Ralph Kiner. Happy to bring you exhibition baseball from Fenway Park in Boston, Mass. Slider is low, 2-1.
Dave Sachs played 22 games with the Red Sox last year at the end of the season and hit .306 for Boston after hitting only .213 at Pawtucket.
Lines this one to left for a base hit. Hit number 6 for the Red Sox. The Mets have but 1. Single by Darryl Strawberry in the 2nd. Here's Dwight Evans, who's 0 for 1. He walked and scored a run in the 4th and struck out in the 2nd. Dwight wants the umpire at second base, Don January, no relation to the golfer. So Don is all right. Slider tap tipped by Auguilera, and Elster gets Evans. Auguilera appeared to strain something in the lower part of his shoulder. See him flinching there. But the Red Sox are out without a run here in the bottom of the 5th after 5. They do lead the Mets 3-1, and we'll be back after this word from Bud Light. Moving from left field to right field is Mike Greenwell and the ex-Met minor leaguer Lachelle Tarver now in left field. At second base, Dave Stapleton. He's replacing Marty Barrett. Replacing Wade Boggs is Ed Romero at third base. And the new pitcher, Met fans familiar with, Tim Lawler.
Lawler 2-0 this year, but with a 6.63 ERA, no saves. He's appeared in 28 games for the Red Sox, working 38 innings. He has walked 29, struck out 25, and given up 6 home runs among his 28 earned runs and 43 hits allowed in 38 innings of work.
Now batting, Wally Backman. Second base, Backman.
Well, we got a note from Sandy Dubowski that's her brother, or the brother of Laura Dubowski, who's WOR Weekend Night News producer. Says hello. He also has a message on the bottom, go Sox. We told him we wouldn't say that.
Well, Romero tested right away as Wally Backman taps the first one to third. And he makes a good play to throw out Wally for the first out here in the 6th.
So Backman grounds out, and Lee Mazzilli batting right-handed. Maz on an error in the 4th inning. 3-1 Boston. Another one to Romero, and it guns out Mazzilli. 2 out here in the 6th. Back in 1977, I was catching an exhibition game in Reading, Pennsylvania. At that time in my career, I was a semi-Strabini and caught more than the regular starters. I was catching Carlton most of the time. Gary Carter, the batter, by the way, he's 0 for 1 with an RBI. Ball 1. And a pitcher by the name of Hank King, who was a batting practice pitcher and now a scout for the Phillies, was pitching, since it didn't count anyway, playing the Reading Phillies. Swing and a miss, 1-1. And he was working on his knuckleball. And I went out and told him, I would call for a fastball and he'd throw a knuckleball. And I went out and told him, I said, Hank, I'm going to burn your clothes in your car if you throw another knuckleball. I don't want to see it again, period. Line drive to left field. It might be out of here, up against the Green Monster. The first time the wall has come into play tonight. So Carter with a double, the second hit for the Mets. That's what can happen in exhibition games.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, Carter, who hit 5 over the Green Monster in the pregame home run hitting contest, bounces one off of it this time. You see that ball coming down, and a glancing blow. Lachelle Tarver plays it perfectly, but Carter in at second easily with a 2-out double.
Ralph Kiner saw that, and I think he's going to activate himself, bad knee and all.
Getting hit on the knee with the ball gave him a taste of what it used to be like. Now he's ready to go back in there.
A little Green Monster out there.
Boy, but this park would have been perfectly suited for Mr. Kiner.
I'm telling you.
Those high ones to
salivating. 1-0 to Strawberry. Darrell 1 for 2 with a stolen base. Mighty swing. He comes up empty. 1-1. The fastball is low, 2-1. Now, with all the Epicurean delights that this city can serve, lobsters, fish, scrod, what have you, Boston beans, we come up here and have a spread in the room downstairs of salami and cheese. We come, I don't believe it. Line drive to left center, and there's Tarver, and he makes the catch.
Just our luck, pal. Don't forget they did have hot dogs.
I don't know if I can get out of this one.
Want me to do it for you?
It's 3-1. 3-1 Boston after 5.5, and we'll be back after this word from HIP, and we're hip. Well, a return to the organization from where he started. John Mitchell started in the Red Sox organization, and he's the new pitcher, his first major league start of any kind.
That's right, first appearance.
Mm-hmm.
for the Mets.
Or, yeah, first appearance, right.
And it's a good way to break him in, I think, in a situation like this. And while he takes his warm-ups, we will remind you that America's First Lady of Comedy is back, and Channel 9's Got Her. Weeknights, laugh with Carol Burnett and Friends, premiering Monday night at 11 here on Channel 9.
John Mitchell, 12-9 at Tidewater. Most valuable player of the Tide this year.
Rick Auguilera goes 5 innings, charged with 3 runs on 6 hits. He struck out 4 and walked 2. All runs that he gave up were earned runs.
Mets and Sox in the 86 series, and that's certainly a possibility. The Mets' magic number is 10. The Red Sox not worried about magic numbers, but they are worried about, or concerned with, getting that lead wider between them and the Toronto Blue Jays as Mike Greenwell rips the first pitch thrown in the big leagues by John Mitchell for a hit. Of course, Greenwell faced Mitchell when he was with Tidewater. Greenwell being with the Pawtucket Red Sox.
And he's right on that pitch, lacing it into right center for a base hit. Hit number 7 for the Red Sox.
Dave Henderson, the batter. What a lovely city Boston is.
And a beautiful day today, too.
Oh, yeah. Nice early autumn day. In about 5 weeks, I guess people will be making their plans to come up and view the foliage in this lovely area of the world, New England. Ground ball towards short by Henderson, over to Backman to first. Not in time. 1 out.
Henderson runs well, and this ball was not that sharply hit. Elster waiting for the hop, got rid of it in a hurry, and Backman did a fine job of turning it at second. But Henderson outran the play to avoid the double play.
And the batter, Mark Sullivan, who's 0 for 2. Henderson at first with 1 out. 3-1 Boston. Boston with 7 hits, the Mets with but 2. Strike on the inside corner, 0-1. Historical city, the North Church, Paul Revere's ride.
What was it you said the other night? One if by land, 2 if by sea ya.
I flipped out. That's great restaurants in this city.
Oh, yeah. I've always wanted to go rowing on the St. Charles River. And someday I'm gonna do that.
That's right. We both agreed with that. I don't like the yachting. I'm not a sailor. You like to sail in San Diego, but I do. That rowing appeals to me.
All right, we'll get a double scull one of these days and cruise up and down that river. Problem is, I don't know if I could handle it in the wintertime, and that's probably the only time we'd have the time to do it.
Yeah.
I'd die.
One and 2 to Mark Sullivan, bottom of the 6th. Fly ball to center. Mitchell broke over and now back and now dumps in front of him. So Sullivan with his first hit of the night. Red Sox with runners at first and second and 1 out. John Gibbons, incidentally, behind the plate now.
Well, Mitchell taking a rather circuitous route to get to this ball, and that's why he didn't get to it. Not making excuses, but it's a brand new ballpark, and the background here is a lot different than the outfielders are used to, and we've seen guys break in correctly a few times tonight.
Batter Spike Owen, the shortstop. Some people feel like the Red Sox stole Spike Owens from the Seattle Mariners. Fine player. Ray Quinones, another fine young shortstop, but yet to develop. Red Sox are thinking about winning now. Owen, much more experienced than Quinones. Ground ball right side. Backman over to Elster, and no throw, and an idea about going to third. Good play. You like to see that.
Yep, heads up by a young player, Kevin Elster, just up from Double-A ball in Jackson, Mississippi, and watch what he does.
Romero.
Seeing if he can decoy the runner at third. He fakes the throw to second, and he continues the pivot all the way around and faked a throw to third base.
Just in case the runner at third, Dave Henderson, should round that bag too far, then Elster throws to Johnson. Well, you gotta like the actions of Kevin Elster at shortstop. You don't know, nobody knows, but he's got great actions out there. Ed Romero, the batter. Eddie takes a strike. 0-1, 2 out here in the 6th, 3-1 Red Sox.
Well, the Mets obviously like what they've seen in Kevin Elster because he is the one that they brought up in time to be eligible for postseason play to back up Rafael Santana. And that tells you that they have a lot of confidence in him and look to him to be a player of the future for them.
I tell you, it amazes me how young players can come up in the pennant race now without ever playing in the big leagues and appear to be ready. Backman to Elster again, and this for the third out. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. After 6, 3-1, Boston. We'll be back after this word from Mitsubishi Motors. Join us.
Brian Hoffman is into the game. Glenn Hoffman, I should say, into the game at shortstop for the Red Sox, replacing Spike Owen. Danny Heap will be the batter as we go to the 7th inning.
25.
Red Sox lead it 3-1. Danny Heap to lead it off. And back in to call it for you, here's Ralph Kiner.
All right, Steve, and Danny Heap 0 for 2 tonight, batting for the first time against Tim Lawler, who relieved the starter, Jeff Sellers, and the first pitch, ball 1. He flied out to the outfield, the left fielder, both times that he has been up. Mets have had only 2 hits, a single by Strawberry in the 2nd, and a double by Gary Carter off the green monster and left back in the 6th. Lawler, formerly with the Yankees and also with the San Diego Padres, and that pitch, a strike call, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Lawler with a record of 2-0. He has no saves. He's made only 1 game start, and he has an earned run average of 6.63. And the strange thing about Tim Lawler, might be the best hitting pitcher around. He has not been at bat in the American League. And the throw to first base for the out as the second baseman Stapleton comes up with it. 1 away.
And then the Red Sox threw the ball away as they threw it around the infield.
That'll bring up Howard Johnson. Howard has walked. He also has flied out to right, 0 for 1 tonight. Well, I just received about the worst news that I could receive. Hank Greenberg, the Hall of Famer, has died.
And I know that you and he, Ralph, were very close friends. And what a great player and fine man he was. That is very sad news. Very sorry to hear that.
He had been very ill and passed away, I believe, today. The news, at least, was that he died today. And Hank Greenberg, one of the great people in life.
He will be sorely missed.
He was a man who fought for the pension plan for the players. He was a great player. He was a great owner, great general manager. Put together the 1954 Cleveland Indian Ball Club that won more games than any team in American League history, 111.
Did you and he become friends when you hit all those home runs in the same seasons?
He played his last season at Pittsburgh in 1947. That's when I met him, and we became very close friends then. And he was the best man at my wedding, and probably did more for me in my baseball career than anybody in the world. Not probably, he did. And a pitch outside to Howard Johnson.
And in the later years, as Joe Sambito warms up, in the later years, you and he could be seen on many a golf course together.
And tennis. He was a great tennis player. Played tennis up to about a year ago and complained of a bad back, but evidently that was not the primary cause. And the pitch back is low. Well, the count at 3 balls and 2 strikes. And Hank Greenberg leaving his lovely wife, Mary Jo, behind. 2 sons and a daughter. Steve, a baseball agent. And Glenn, who's in the stock brokerage business. High pop-up to left field. It'll be a while for that to come down. And it does come down as Glenn Hoffman makes the catch. Hank also with a daughter by the name of Val.
Well, Romero goes after it, but Hoffman really has the better line.
35.
And the wind pushes it just into foul territory. And as you can tell, if it had pushed it a little farther,
John Gibbons.
as that foul territory recedes very quickly, Hoffman would not have had a play.
The catcher.
That'll bring up John Gibbons batting for the first time. John taking over behind the plate for Ed Hearn. John in the season 1 for 3, brought up from Tidewater when Gary Carter was hurt. One strike the count to John Gibbons. One and one the count. Red Sox leading by a score of 3-1. We're in the top of the 7th inning. And this one ripped foul. Interesting little stat. On this date of 1941, the Yankees clinched the pennant, beating the Red Sox 6-3. And that's the earliest date any team has ever clinched the pennant. Of course, in those days, they didn't have divisional play.
Yeah, I guess technically you can't clinch the pennant now until October.
You have to do it in October now. Got to win your division and then beat the other division.
That's right.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Of course, I guess you get a pennant for winning your division, so you really do get a pennant or clinch the pennant, as it were.
And Lawler misses with a breaking ball. That fills the count out to 3 balls and 2 strikes.
I wonder where that tradition... here we go. I say this now, and people are going to write letters. Maybe you know, though, Ralph, where the tradition of awarding a pennant, a flag, for winning the championship started.
I think that started back when George Washington won his first battle.
Put it on one of those lances and carry it into battle.
There, George, you just won one.
Well, the cavalry, they had those pennants on the flag type deal that they carried around back in the 1800s.
So the Mets have the time run at the plate, and the batter is Kevin Elster. Kevin has flied out to center field the 2 times he has been up. Got his first major league hit yesterday on a bad hop single. And the first pitch is fouled off to the right side out of play. You know who gave George that pennant?
Who gave it to him?
Paul Revere.
He did, huh?
Yeah, 1th by sea and 2th by what?
No, 1 if by land.
2th by sea.
And 2 if by sea. That would be the number of lanterns appearing in the North Church Tower if the British were coming by land or by sea. And as Tim signed off the other night at Shea, 1 if by land and 2 if by sea.
In Boston.
Yeah.
On WOR-TV. Tonight.
Only appropriate.
At 7 o'clock. 1 strike to count. Fowler's pitch hit to right field. Coming over is Evans. He can't get to it. He plays it on the hop. That's Greenwell, I should say. The throw to third base does not come over as it's cut off. And now Gibbons at third and Elster at first, and the time run at first, and the batter will be Kevin Mitchell.
John Gibbons ran out from under his batting helmet, so had to ask for time to have it retrieved. But a good job of hitting by Elster. And more altercations in the stands. Mets fans holding up Mets on different cards, METS, being pummeled by cups and everything else by the Red Sox fans as they took umbrage at that display of Mets loyalty here in Boston.
Mitchell has batted once and popped up to the second baseman. He takes for ball 1. Fowler back and missing for ball 2.
Incidentally, if this game tonight goes 9 innings and is tied, it will be over. There will be no extra inning play as you look at Tim Tuffle on deck. So if the game is tied at the end of 9, that is the end of the game, and it'll just be a tie.
They do that in Japan. Ground ball foul down the third base side. So they counted 2 balls and 1 strike. Mitchell, a candidate for the Rookie of the Year honors, along with Todd Worrell of the St. Louis Cardinals, who has 31 saves, and also Robbie Thompson of the San Francisco Giants, the second baseman. Sullivan keeps the ball close, so Elster has to hold at first base. That's batting here in the 7th inning with 2 men out, and Mitchell with a count of 3 balls and 1 strike.
This is nothing against Kevin Mitchell, who's had a fine year for the Mets. But I would have to say that if I had a vote in that right now, Ralph, I'd have to vote for Rob Thompson. He's had an outstanding year and leads in a lot of offensive categories and has played great defensively at second base.
And a drive that is foul. And the carom off the wall out there, and you can see how tough this ballpark is. They have angles and corners all over the place, and the ball caroms off that wall there. If that ball had been fair, it would have caromed off that wall and would have gone out. Probably would have been fielded by the shortstop. When you play shortstop in this ballpark, as soon as the balls hit the left, you have to run out there because you get a lot of balls in play.
And an outfielder's first reaction on a ball hit down the line is to go to the line. Consequently, even though he's used to this park, he may break to the line and then have to circle back around and actually wind up being behind the ball by the time it caroms out into the position.
It is the most difficult park to play defense. 3-2 the count. 2 men out. The runner at first goes. A drive to left. Going back to left fielder Carver, and he makes the catch. And that ends the inning. Line shot but caught. 1 hit, a walk, and 2 men left on base. And the score at the end of 6.5 innings, it is the Red Sox 3, the New York Mets 1. Now here's a word from General Motors.
The Mets. Meet the Mets.
Meet the Mets with an exciting new home video release, An Amazing Era. From Stengel to Seaver, from Gooden to the first 79 men on third, this feature-length film captures the drama, excitement, and comedy that have made the Mets so amazing. An Amazing Era is available for $19.95 plus $3.95 postage and handling. To order with Visa or MasterCard only, call 1-800-THE-METS. Be sure to indicate VHS or Beta. Relive the early years when Casey was king.
I played on 3 major league cities in New York.
Watch the 1969 Miracle Mets capture the country's imagination.
The Mets have won the championship of the National League.
An Amazing Era, 25 years of Mets baseball. A video cassette no fan should be without. Remember to order with Visa or MasterCard only. Call 1-800-THE-METS. That's 1-800-THE-METS.
Hey, folks, get off on this.
Tim Tuffle at second base for the New York Mets, replacing Wally Backman. Tuffle will bat in Wally's batting position, number 2 in the batting order, as the Red Sox come up in the bottom half of the 7th. And Dave Stapleton will be the leadoff batter. On the mound, John Mitchell, and the first pitch is fouled off.
Stapleton's hitting only .129. No homers and 2 RBIs. He's been up 31 times this year with just 4 base hits. And that one looped into the second base area. Coming up back as Tuffle only makes his first play. So 1 away here in the bottom half of the 7th. The Red Sox leading by a score of 3-1.
And the batter will be Pat Dotson. Dotson struck out his first time up. Dotson making his first batting appearance in a Red Sox uniform here in the major leagues. And that ball hit high in the air to right, but Strawberry there. And Darrell puts it away, 2 men away.
I'll tell you what, Pat Dodson at 6'4" and about 220 will hit a few out before he's through. Well, that surfer from the 60s is back as a woman of the 80s. Meet the new Gidget. All right. Karen Richmond for Gidget's summer reunion, Saturday night at 8 on the $1 Million Movie. I can hardly wait.
50.
And now Dave Sachs will be the batter, the brother of Steve Sachs. Dave taking over as the DH in this ball game for Don Baylor. Baylor 0 for 2. Sachs got a base hit back in the 5th inning in his first appearance. Red Sox have had 8 base hits. The Mets have had just 3. And Mitchell picks up a strike call. Mitchell 12-9 at Tidewater, working to Dave Sachs. John voted the best starting pitcher in the International League this year. Goes to the breaking ball, strike 2. And as pointed out, Mitchell was with the Boston Red Sox.
Went from Pawtucket to Tidewater. So he knows some of these guys that he is pitching against quite well.
And the sinking fastball. 1, 2, 3, and a strikeout as Sachs goes back to the bench. That retires the side. Mitchell a 1, 2, 3 inning, and the score at the end of 7 here in Fenway Park. The Red Sox 3, the Mets 1. Now here's a word from Bud Light. Joe Sambito, the new pitcher for the Red Sox.
Joe, of course, at one time a Met, now 2-0 with a 4.82 ERA for Boston and 11 saves. He's worked only 37 1/3 innings, making 46 appearances in those 37 1/3 innings. He has given up 20 earned runs, walked only 13 while striking out 23.
He has earned the nickname 1/3, as he usually comes in to pitch to one batter, a left-hand batter. But he has done quite a job for the Red Sox after being released.
Second on the club in saves to Bob Stanley with 15.
There you go.
Well, we could tell him the story of our trip here today.
A broken down bus.
I'll tell you. I had to get on the wrong one as usual.
That's 2 for 2 in broken buses.
That's right. Coming back from the West Coast trip, the Mets bus that picked us up at the LaGuardia terminal broke down on the way to the ballpark. And today, leaving the Boston airport, one of the buses broke down prior to the tunnel that goes underneath the part of the bay into the city.
And Tim Tuffle, the first batter for the Mets, batting for the first time, and he takes the first pitch for ball 1.
Of course, the bus that broke down had the majority of the players on it as well as all of the equipment. So we all had to get out and flag down cabs in the middle of the traffic jam to get to the park. In addition to that, Charlie Samuels finally, the equipment manager, finally was able to flag down one of those airport van-type limousines and paid the guy $75 to haul all the Mets equipment here to Fenway.
Tuffle tries to hold up, goes too far, and that's a strike call. It's 1-2. Tuffle batting the .259 for the year with 4 home runs, 29 RBIs. Way outside, 2-2. In the old days, before they had team buses to pick up the ball players at the airport, players used to ride the trains into town. You get off the train and you had to fend for yourself. You had to get your own cab, carry your own luggage, take it to the lobby. All those little amenities have been done away with. All the fun of hauling those suitcases around.
And guys still complain now, don't they?
Worst part of it was they'd park those trains that you would ride on. They'd have a special Pullman about a half mile from the depot, and you'd have to walk down the railroad tracks to the depot before you could get a cab. There's a base hit up the middle. So Tuffle singles in his first appearance, a 4th hit for the Mets. And again, they have the time run at the plate, and the batter coming up is Lee Mazzilli.
Mazzilli, first base.
Eddie Westfall sitting in that second row there. Right to his right on the left side of the screen, Jerry Toner, the attorney for Mr. Doubleday.
General counsel for Doubleday.
Well, the big official family up here. Nelson Doubleday and his wife Sandy, also Fred Wilpon, the president of the ball club, and many, many others. And Lee Mazzilli batting from the right-hand side takes the first pitch for ball 1. Lee in this game is 0 for 2. Lee in the home run hitting contest, and you know Lee's a switch hitter. And he chose to bat left-handed, where it's much farther to right field than right-handed, where it's a very close left field.
But Maz feels he has more power left-handed, but I agree with you. I think he only hit 1 in the contest in 10 swings, and I think he'd done a lot better with that green monster out there.
And that one is out of the strike zone. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Incidentally, that left field wall is 37 feet high. And then on top of that, there's a 23-foot screen. All you have to do to get a home run, of course, for the uninitiated, is hit it over the wall and into the screen.
And you ask, why did they make it so short and make the wall so high? Well, there's a street out there, and they don't own the territory.
That's as far as they could go with the park back in 1912.
They fit this ballpark right into a small area. 2 balls, 1 strike. Lee grounds it foul, 2-2.
I'm sure there's a mathematical equation that you can figure with geometry. Since that wall is 60 feet high to the top of the 23-foot screen, if a ball clears the screen, and many have, and goes out into the street, how far approximately it traveled.
And Lee bloops it into shallow left center field. It will be a base hit. Couple rounding second base either did it on purpose or fell down to stop. Kind of went into a slide. Now they're going to check him out. Bill Robinson goes out to see if he's okay.
Look at the effort by Glenn Hoffman as he dove trying to get that ball. And as he was doing so, Mazzilli at first base, Tuffle rounding second. As you said, Ralph, either slipped, and I think he did fall down, or tried to put the brakes on and fell down in doing so. It looked like he did have, when he hit the bag, an idea about trying to go on to third, or at least bluffing, but he slipped and fell and had to go back to second. And Ray Knight will be the batter instead of Gary Carter.
Ray Knight, the DH, replacing Gary Carter. And he has a time run at first base. Ray Knight having a fine year, hitting .296 with 9 home runs, 64 RBIs, and the first pitch for ball 1.
I would think, Ralph, that as a right-handed hitter coming into this ballpark for the first time, and Ray has played his entire career in the National League, that you would have to be affected to some degree by that right or left field wall.
Well, you have to fight the tendency of trying to pull the ball all the time, and of course the pitchers work you outside of here all the time, and so it's tough to pull the ball. Now, it is a very difficult thing to counter. Outfield straight away, the infield set at double play depth. No one out as the Mets bat in the top of the 8th, needing 2 to tie. And Knight goes after a high fastball. Carter in this game had 1 for 2. He doubled off the monster in left. Also had a sacrifice fly to score a run. The Mets' only run came back in the 4th inning. So runners at first and second, no one out. Mets need 2 to tie. They got their power hitters up. And a drive down the left field line. It'll be extra bases. Scoring from second base is Tim Tuffle. Going to third base is Lee Mazzilli, and Knight in ahead of the tag at second base, and the Mets are within 1 of tying up this ball game or going ahead.
and the Red Sox had an opportunity to get Ray Knight at second base. But shortstop Glenn Hoffman, who picks up the relay throw from the left fielder, Shea Tarver, does not think about Knight at second, and by the time he throws, it's too late. Tuffle scores easily. Mazzilli to third, and you see a little double clutch by Hoffman there. Knight in just ahead of the throw. Had Hoffman just gotten the ball and immediately gone to second, they had a good chance to get Ray. But now the Mets have runners at second and third.
And the batter is Darryl Strawberry. Strawberry 1 for 3 tonight, and he takes the fastball for ball 1. Darryl singled up the middle in the second inning for the first base hit for the Mets. Was out in a fine play on a ground ball in the fourth by the shortstop, and then lined out to left. Still no one out, and Strawberry goes after a pitch breaking ball. And the count 1 ball, 1 strike. Joe Sambito on the mound for the Red Sox. And the fastball is fouled away. Mazzilli, the runner at third base. Knight, the runner at second. And the batter is Darryl Strawberry. One and 2 the count as Joe Sambito, former star relief pitcher for Houston, goes to the set. Struck him out. So Strawberry strikes out for the first out of the inning. And that is the first strikeout by Red Sox pitchers in this game.
Well, Darryl Strawberry has struggled all season long against left-handed pitching. And here he has another big cut, but no contact.
And it brings up Danny Heath. Danny in this game is 0 for 3. And Danny pops it up. Third baseman being run off the play by the shortstop, Glenn Hoffman. He makes the catch, and the runners have to hold. So Mazzilli still at third, Knight still at second. 2 big outs for Sambito as he strikes out Strawberry and gets Heap on the first pitch to foul out. And it will bring up Howard Johnson, batting from the right-hand side. Howard in this game 0 for 2 with a walk. Johnson batting right-handed, a much weaker hitter than he is when he's batting left-handed. Hitting 182 right-handed, 264 left-handed. He's had 1 home run from the right-hand side and 7 from the left-hand side. And Johnson looks at a breaking ball, a called strike. Full house here in Fenway, and they have seen an exciting ball game. Johnson grounds it to third. It's off of the glove of Romero, and the ball game is tied as Mazzilli comes in to score. It is tied at 3-3 on the air.
This ball really handcuffs Ed Romero. He lets the hop play him. He's back on his heels, and that hop with overspin comes right up in his chest. And he's lucky he didn't get it right in the chops. He just misplayed that ball, and that's what you call letting the ball play you instead of you playing the ball.
And the defensive play lets the Mets tie it up, and it brings up John Gibbons. John walked his first time up. at third base. And now the first pitch as Zambito goes to the set to John Gibbons, and it's lined to center field, a base hit. Ray Knight scores, and the Mets take the lead by a score of 4-3 on the 2 unearned runs. Gibbons a big base hit, and the Mets on top by 1.
Well, it's beginning to look like a typical New York Met game. This is what the Mets have been doing to the National League all season long. When they are behind, those 7th and 8th innings seem to be theirs, and they feel like they are theirs. And they play like that, too.
So the batter now is Kevin Elster. Elster singled his last time up and is 1 for 3. And the first pitch for ball 1. Zambito would have been out of the inning if that ball had been fielded at third with no runs. After giving up 3 straight hits, he struck out Strawberry, got Denny Heap to foul out, and then got Johnson to ground to the third baseman who booted the ball. A run scored, and then a following base hit by Gibbons. Another run scoring, and the Mets leading by a score of 4-3. Again, it's low, and it's 2 balls and no strikes.
And as many New York fans in attendance start up a Let's Go Mets chant, the rest of the crowd takes exception to that. So you have a battle of a cheer on one side and a chorus of boos from the others. But there are a lot of New York fans here at Fenway.
Check out those blue caps. 2-0 the count. Now it's 3 balls and no strikes as Zambito misses. And the batter, Elster, steps out of the batter's box and checks with third base coach Bud Harrelson. On deck batter is Kevin Mitchell. Three balls, no strikes. Elster was in hitting position, but it's out of the strike zone, and ball 4, and that loads him up and brings up Kevin Mitchell, the 9th man to bat in this inning.
Well, Joe Zambito really should be out of the inning as Ed Romero misplayed Howard Johnson's grounder that could have been a routine third out for the forced play at second. And that allowed the tying run to score, and then John Gibbons followed with the base hit to put the Mets in front.
And a wall pitch way over the head of the catcher, Mark Sullivan, and the Mets get another. Howard Johnson scoring from third on the wild pitch, and the Mets lead by a score of 5-3.
Well, this ball just slipped right out of Zambito's hand. I mean, it never had a chance to get to the catcher. Johnson scoring easily before Sullivan can even retrieve it from the backstop.
John McNamara looking on, not a happy man at this point. He's happy about what takes place in the American League as the Boston Red Sox lead by 4.5 over Toronto. And there's one looped in the left field for a base hit. Gibbons comes in to score. Behind him, Elster scores. And the Mets now have scored their 6th run in this inning. And they take a lead of 7-3 over the Boston Red Sox.
Kevin Mitchell has a pitch in on him. He didn't hit it on the good part of the bat, but he is so strong that he's able to muscle that ball down the line. Tarver on it in a hurry, but of course with 2 out, Elster at second running all the way scored easily. 2 runs come in, 2 RBIs for Mitch.
Still 2 men out, and the batter will be Tim Tuffle, who started this inning with a single. And there's a drive to left field, but Tarver over, and he makes the play. That retires the side, but the Mets send 10 men to the plate. They score 6 runs on 5 hits, 1 big error, and 1 man left on base. And the score at the end of 7.5 innings, the Mets 7 and the Boston Red Sox 3. Now here's a word from the good olds guys. Well, tonight the Mets and Red Sox are playing with a purpose to raise money for the Jimmy Fund, a Boston-based research organization helping kids combat cancer. Channel 9 hopes that viewers get into the spirit of the event by sending a tax-deductible contribution to the Jimmy Fund, 44 Biney Street, B-I-N-N-E-Y, Kenmore Station, Boston, Massachusetts, 02115. 02115. And a new pitcher in for the New York Mets. Randy Neiman now pitching. Neiman replacing John Mitchell. Neiman with a record in the regular season of 2-3 with no saves. He has an earned run average of 3.52. He has worked 30 2/3 innings. He has given up 37 hits while walking 12 and striking out 10. Randy Neiman, the pitcher, and coming back in for the play-by-play, Steve Zabriskie.
Thanks, Ralph. Lachelle Tarver is going to lead it off for the Red Sox.
Randy Neiman now pitching for New York.
Tarver will be batting in the number 5 spot, which was Dwight Evans' spot in the batting order.
Joe Tarver.
And I'm sure some Met fans are familiar with Tarver as he was involved in the Bob Ojeda trade. And he wraps one right back up the middle. Tuffle over, and will have to hurry the throw, and just does get Tarver at first. Good play by Tuffle.
Well, Tarver getting out of the batter's box in a hurry. Tuffle coming up with that little hop that was sort of tricky, coming up with it and getting the man at first base as Mazzilli takes his throw. 1 pitch and 1 away for Randy Neiman.
And now here's Mike Greenwell, the right fielder, who's 1 for 3. He singled into right center his last time up. Fouled off at home plate for strike 1. Greenwell started the game in left field and then moved over to right field when Evans was taken out of the game and Tarver was inserted defensively. Of course, you don't take Evans out of the game and put somebody else in for him defensively.
Unless it's an exhibition game for a great cause, and this is really a great cause. The Mets have participated in quite a few charity events. One time they played the Mayor's Trophy game with the crosstown Yankees, and they estimate they have raised over $3.5 million for amateur baseball in New York. The Mets donate, what is it, $40,000 a year to amateur baseball.
$40,000 worth of equipment.
And distribute it to various high schools and sandlot programs in the metropolitan area.
Randy Neiman with some big breaking balls gets the left-handed hitting Mike Greenwell for his first strikeout.
Tommy Holmes, the executive director of the foundation for the last 23 years, working for the Mets, former great ball player, and he estimates that about 80 youngsters associated with these charities that the Mets have contributed to have made it to the majors. Lee Mazzilli, Sean Dunston, Ed Kranepool, Rico Petrocelli, Tommy Davis, Joe Foy, Ken Singleton, Terry Crowley, Danny Monzon, a Met scout, and many, many others.
Tim and I were talking earlier about some of the big leaguers that have benefited from the charity money raised by these type of events. Dave Henderson lifts at the shallow left. Heap runs off Elster for the final out of the inning. So Randy Neiman comes in and mows down the Sox here in the 8th. And after 8, it is now New York 7 and Boston 3. We will go to the 9th inning after this word from UPS.
Rob Woodward, the new pitcher for the Boston Red Sox, with a record of 1-3 in the regular season, a high ERA of 5.38. He has been in 7 ball games, 6 as a starter, and he has worked 31 2/3 innings, giving up 42 hits. He's allowed 4 home runs. He has walked 10 and struck out 12 in the 31 innings.
Well, there's Tom Seaver, who, of course, had his greatest years in a New York Mets uniform before going to Cincinnati, and is now with the Red Sox and has contributed to the Red Sox success this year. He's 5-5 And many of his, I'd say 3 of his 5 losses, if memory serves me right, have been really tough losses for Seaver this year. He's pitched well for the Red Sox since coming over from Chicago. Lee Mazzilli grounds the first pitch foul from Woodward for strike 1.
Last game he pitched, he left the ball game leading 3-2, and in the 9th inning the game was tied, but the Red Sox came back to win it in the bottom of the 9th, so he didn't get credit for the win in that one.
Off-speed pitch is high and away, and it's 1-1 to Maz. Mazzilli is 1 for 3, reached on an error, grounded to third, singled to left, and scored in the 8th inning when the Mets put 6 on the board to take the lead after trailing the first 7 innings of this game. First 2-0 and then 3-1. But it's now 7-3 New York here in the top of the 9th. And 2 balls, 1 strike to Mazzilli. And that's way inside. 3-1. Mazzilli got his base hit right-handed against Joe Sambito, who stands to be the losing pitcher. And John Mitchell stands to be the winning pitcher. Even though it won't count, it'll be with a rather large asterisk his first big league victory, I guess. Sort of like a spring training win. But certainly more exciting than that, you'd have to think. Popped up, and it might be playable for Romero, and he got it. Going into the corner for out number 1.
It was Romero's error that put Sambito on the losing side of this ball game. A 2-out error that would have held the Mets at 3-2 if he had made the play.
The Mets went on to score 5 more runs after that error. 6 total in the 8th inning. And Ray Knight, a big part of that, as he drove in the first run of the inning prior to the error, as the Mets got the first 2 runners aboard, and Knight doubled home Tim Tuffle, and there's another base hit. So Ray Knight 2 for 2. Well, Mrs. Goldberg, wherever you are. What was it, Mrs. Calabash?
Mrs. Calabash.
Durante used to say. Mrs. Goldberg, wherever you are. Kim is having a wonderful time.
Timmy Durante, a great baseball fan, and you saw in one of the promos earlier, Durante and Stengel rubbing noses.
Strawberry with a looping base hit into right field. Ray Knight going to third. Darrell's trying for 2, and he's out of there. The relay from Stapleton to Hoffman, and a fine play by Mike Greenwell to cut the ball off and get it back in.
Well, Strawberry can run, as you well know. This ball hit hard. He was slow getting out of the batter's box. And a cutoff here by Greenwell. Darrell didn't run at all. Now he sees it drop in, and he takes off, and the relay from Stapleton to the shortstop, Hoffman, gets him at second.
Darrell excuse me, Grant.
I was going to say it's an exhibition game, but you still should go at it.
Yep. And there are many who say that you wind up playing in the game like you play in practice. And if Darrell needs to work on anything, it's his work habits. Had he been running hard all the way, he would have been in at second base easily. Knight making it to third with 2 out for Danny Heath. And the count 1-1. Danny's 0 for 4. He's flying to left twice. Grounded to second and popped to short. And a grounder to second. Stapleton with an easy play, and the inning is over. 2 hits in the inning, but no runs for the Mets, and they leave 1. We go to the bottom of the 9th. Here at the friendly confines, as far as Boston is concerned, of Fenway Park, with the Mets out in front 7-3. And we're back after this for Shell Gasoline. Well, some more Mets folks who made the trip. In the second row there, in the red sweater, the fellow who gets us around, Arthur Richmond. Next to him, Executive Vice President Al Harrison in the brown jacket. And right in front of them, just facing away from us, Principal owner of the Mets, Nelson Doubleday. His wife, Sandy, on the far right with the baseball cap on. And next to Nelson, Tommy Holmes, who's had a great deal to do with the charity aspects of games like this. And Doug Sisk will pitch the ninth for New York.
Doug with a record of 3-2. He has no saves. An earned run average of 2.52. He has appeared in 33 games for the Mets in the regular season, working 60 and 2/3 innings, giving up 62 hits, walking 24 and striking out 25. He has not given up a home run pitch this year.
In fact, he's gone longer than any other pitcher in the league without giving up a home run. Mark Sullivan will be the first batter that Dougie faces here in the ninth. Sullivan is 1 for 2 with a single to center and a sacrifice. And he drives the first pitch to center field. Kevin Mitchell almost in his tracks for out number 1. And the batter now will be Glenn Hoffman, batting for the first time. And some yo-yo is on the field. The fans reacting not to Glenn Hoffman, but to the fan that ran out on the field and is now back in the stands. Hoffman has not had an official at bat for the Red Sox yet this year, just being called up from Pawtucket. And a broken bat pop-up. Doug Sisk handles it in fair territory, and very quickly, 2 out here in the bottom of the 9th inning. And once again, we remind you, this game is to benefit the Boston Jimmy Fund, it is called, to benefit Cancer Institute here, and also amateur baseball in New York. 50% of the proceeds of this game going to each of those charities, and it will be played again next year in Shea Stadium.
And both clubs pay all the expenses of this game.
And Romero, first ball hitting. Thank you very much. Grounds to Johnson at third, and Ed is out of there, and the ball game is over. John Mitchell is the winning pitcher in the ball game, having worked 2 innings, the 6th and 7th for New York, and benefiting from that 6-run 8th inning by the Mets. The loser is Joe Sambito, who was the losing pitcher because of the error by Ed Romero at third base, basically, as the Mets went on to score 6 and take the lead in that 8th inning and win it 7-3. We'll be back to wrap it up from Fenway Park in Boston, where the first annual Mets Red Sox exhibition game is concluded, having been won by the New York Mets 7-3 after this word from Bud Light.
Well, the 2 first-place teams in the American League East and the National League East have met for the first time here in this annual charity game that will be set up for many years, and the Mets have won it by a score of 7-3. And the Mets getting 6 big runs when they sent 10 men to the plate in the 8th inning. 5 of those big runs were unearned on an error by the shortstop Romano. And the Mets coming up, Romero, I should say, and the Mets coming up with the victory as they won it 7-3. And the Mets using Rick Auguilera as the starting pitcher in this ball game. Rick pitched the first 5 innings, left on the losing side, but the Mets rallied to win it. And John Mitchell, the winning pitcher in the ball game.
Well, you know, Ralph, a lot was made before this ball game about the fact that it might be a World Series preview. And I think Davey Johnson made a good observation prior to the game in the interview that I did with him. And he said that at least it'll give the guys an opportunity to see the ballpark, get familiar with it, play in it, look at that green monster and find out that it's really not as frightening and as awesome as perhaps they had heard, never having seen it before. And the only other factor might be the fact that maybe if the Mets and Red Sox do meet in the World Series, now the Red Sox will have maybe a little incentive, extra incentive that they might not have had otherwise. But all in all, it was a pretty typical game as far as the Mets are concerned, the way they've been winning against the National League teams most of the year.
And we'll be back with more of the wrap-up in just a moment, right after this word from Jordache. Well, the final score, the Mets winning over the Red Sox by a score of 7-3, $33,057 paid, and that money going to charities, the Jimmy Fund here in Boston and the New York Amateur Foundation in New York, half of it going each way. And the Mets will now return to New York, and they'll also return to Shea Stadium for a ball game tomorrow night. It'll be against the San Diego Padres, a 3-game series starting up tomorrow, and the Mets will be going with a darling of a pitcher.
Ron Darling, who's been a big man for the Mets in the rotation this year, that has been an outstanding rotation, will face Andy Hawkins in tomorrow night's game right here on WOR at 7:30. Sid Fernandez will go on Saturday, and Dwight Gooden will pitch on Sunday. Sunday's game also on WOR, and the Mets will have to take that sickening 89-44 record. It's really getting gaudy. Back to the National League after tonight. And I think, Ralph, one of the great things about tonight, as far as those of us up here at least were concerned, was the opportunity to come to this old, historic, beautiful ballpark on a great day here in Boston and see an exciting ball game played here. And it's something that, obviously, being in the National League, we don't get to do very often, and it was a real treat.
And to partake of the glorious food that they have here in Boston in the overall
salami and cheese was great.
Salami and cheese. We'll be back with more of the wrap-up in just a moment, right after this word from Lee Miles.